All right, everybody, it is 1:05. We are going to get started with our presentation. My name is Kaya Fox. I'm the Executive Director at Habitat for Humanity of the Greater La Crosse area, and we are partnering with Next Step. And Amy is with us today to do our second presentation about factory-built housing. We did our first presentation in October, basically just centered around factory-built housing 101, talking about the difference between modular and manufactured homes and kind of a dive into how they are built and what to expect from factory-built homes. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper and talk specifically about how developing factory-built homes is an excellent solution for affordable housing, and talking about how other developers can take a look at adding factory-built homes to their toolkit. So, Amy, if you want to get started and introduce yourself, and we'll get right into the presentation. FYI, we are recording this so that we can share this with other folks, and then Amy will be sharing her presentation PowerPoint slide that we can also share out to the network. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. For those of you who are back for round two, thank you for joining us for both, and we'll get started.
Okay. If you have any questions, you can also type them in the little chat box. This way we can keep up with them. But yeah, thank you, Kaya. I am Amy Barnard, Vice President of Next Step Homes. The objective of today is to hopefully allow you to give you some kind of background and more information on why it's a good idea to consider factory-built housing as a affordable housing solution as part of your production, getting into this space. So we're going to jump right in. Let's see. All right. So a little bit about my organization for those of you that are unfamiliar with Next Step. We have set out as an organization to transform the manufactured housing industry through consumer education, affordability, and energy efficiency. Part of our work is trying to change the way that homes are sold, manufactured housing or factory-built housing is sold. Instead of purchasing from a retail lot, we want buyers to be able to shop for their home online like you would if you were looking at homes on the MLS, working on fair loans, and allowing these homes to be placed into diverse and vibrant neighborhoods. So next step, part of our foundation is manufactured housing done right. This means energy efficient homes placed on permanent foundations, being financed with fair loans, and supporting the home buyer through home buyer education and counseling services. We also do a lot of policy work, and we believe that a home is a home. And so our policy work advocates for fairness of those living in factory-built homes. So why would a developer choose to do manufactured housing? First off, manufactured housing, they are more affordable than that of site-built. These homes roughly come in about 25% less expensive than your traditional site-built home. This also allows first-time home buyers to get into the market. These homes, in terms of quality, are the construction is heavily regulated and inspected at the plant. I tend to joke a lot about, have you ever seen a site-built home going 70 mile an hour down the interstate? The answer is no. Therefore, when you see these homes going down the interstate, you know that they are going to arrive in one piece on site. Therefore, you know that they are constructed and built to withstand those winds, which also leads me into my next point, that these houses are built to withstand to the thermal and wind zone requirements for the market that they are going. Manufactured housing and factory-built housing in general, we are seeing more attractive designs. We are seeing that these homes have characteristics and features that are competing with site-built. We're seeing the garages, we're seeing porches, we're seeing interior finishes that you would not normally see in maybe a starter level home. Also, we have energy efficiency. As modern technology has improved, the energy efficiency of these homes is also improving. Something you're going to hear me talk several times about is appreciation. We have seen that manufactured and modular housing has appreciated at the same rate that on-site construction is appreciating. So this slide, if you were with us last month for the MH 101, this is just a recap. And for those of you that are maybe understand it a little bit or just trying to get into understanding what factory built housing is, this is just a good kind of visual of the differences in types of homes. So there is two types of factory built housing that we're going to talk about today, and that's manufactured and modular. And underneath each of those, there's a type of standard. So we're going to start with manufactured housing. Again, it's built in a factory, obviously. It's built to the HUD code. It does have a level of energy efficiency that can be met. The foundations can be done as a typical ground anchor foundation that you would see in a traditional manufactured home, or it can be placed on a permanent foundation. Typical manufactured housing finance, we often see that traditional manufactured housing tends to be zoned out in markets. So that's where we have a limited zoning opportunities. It has to be appraised to manufactured home comps. And you typically see standard features, and it can be placed on privately owned land or even in a land lease community. When we get into a modular, there's not a whole lot of differences other than the fact of where the home is built when it comes to modular versus site built. The home is built in a factory and it is on a carrier to its site. Conventional financing, it has to go on a permanent foundation. It can be appraised to MH, modular, and even site built comps. So it's pretty comparable to the site built cousin. But then underneath those two types of factory built housing, we have the standards. So there's a cross mod, which is a standard and a level of specifications that a home is built to. The cross mod is this is a manufactured home, so built to the HUD code that is, I don't want to say necessarily in competition, but probably competition to site built. These homes are built in the factory. They're built to at least an Energy Star level. They must be placed on a permanent foundation, and they meet the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lending requirements. So these can actually be financed with a conventional mortgage through the GSEs. We have seen this particular type of home has opened up markets in terms of zoning. So we're seeing a lot more of the cross mods moving into areas that have otherwise had manufactured housing zoned out. These, if there is no other cross mods to be appraised to, then it must be appraised to a site built comp. And again, you're seeing those site built features. So you've got a porch, you've got an attached garage, and these will be placed on owned land. So it's real property. And then we get into next step homes. This is our organization's specifications and standards. These are the most robust in the industry. Again, we do either manufactured or modular. We have projects going on across the country, both manufactured and modular. Something different about our standards is we do all electric. We are requiring Energy Star version 3 or even the DOE's Zero Energy Ready standards. All of our homes must be placed on an FHA Title II permanent foundation, which allows them to be financed either through Fannie and Freddie, FHA, USDA, VA. So it's conventional financing. Again, we're kind of in line with cross mods. So we have more zoning opportunities, and then they can be appraised to the cross mod, modular, and site built. We also do the porches and the garages, but that's not always necessary depending on how that home is to be sited. And then we work with nonprofit and for-profit developers, so we can put these homes on private land or even in mission-owned communities, which we'll talk a little bit more about. So I just want to give a quick 101 for those of you that may not have been on last month, just to kind of help understand what we're talking about today. So a few things I want to kind of set the tone here and maybe help determine if you're a developer, kind of help understand, why would I develop with factory built housing? Well, first of all, they're going to be very energy efficient. We do work with manufacturers that can do a minimum of Energy Star, and then also there are manufacturers that do Department of Energy's Zero Energy Ready and standard in all of their manufactured homes. You're going to hear me talk about the appreciation value on several of these slides. These are appreciating in value just like site-built homes. So people have always asked, I don't think they're good quality. Well, they're not going to last, or they're going to, not appreciate like everything else. But so long as you take care of that home, maintain that home, it will appreciate in value. If you let a site-built home go and do not maintain it, that house is going to basically fall apart and not appreciate in value. So these homes are appreciating just like site built. And something, I know that we're all familiar with is that we are all in a housing crisis. There's a very lack of affordable housing in all of the markets. So this is actually, a affordable option for buyers. 12% of all housing starts are factory built homes. So this is allowing people who may have been priced out of their market with a site built home to actually maybe be able to afford a home that they can make their own and get into home ownership. So the beauty of today's manufactured home or factory built home, whether it's manufactured or modular, is these homes can just about go anywhere. You typically hear of factory built being in a rural setting, but I'm also here to tell you that we can place them in suburban, urban infill, and even in a subdivision. We can do full scale subdivisions. We can attach garages, lower the homes to the ground, as you can see in all these photos, site built porches, and even offer steeper roof pitches that will allow these homes to blend nicely into wherever the setting is that they're going. So today's factory built homes, we're seeing the same trends as you would if we were looking at site built, both inside and outside the home. And I will say that in all the years that I've been in this industry, I have seen that manufactured housing has more amenities at a lower price point than your typical starter or entry-level site-built home. We are seeing farmhouse sinks. We are seeing large kitchens with large islands, 96-inch showers, even freestanding soaker tubs, which I'm sure not all of us have in our homes. But you're also, again, seeing the garages and the front porches. And I do want to give a shout out. I know Clayton Homes is on here. This house is actually, that you see on your screen, this is a cross mod home, which means it's a HUD code home, manufactured home. This was placed in the city limits of Atlanta. It has the garage, it has the front porch, and you can kind of see the homes next to it are both vinyl siding. So this just shows that these homes, while it will be the newest house on the block, it will blend in nicely with the surrounding neighborhood. Also, with considering the surrounding neighborhood, factory built homes can be used to do infill. We know that there are vacant lots throughout cities. We know that they're nothing but blight, probably causing crime, have been overgrown or trash, and they're generating no tax revenue. So by placing new factory built homes, you're not only bringing affordable housing to the area, but you're also getting rid of that blighted lot and generating tax revenue for that municipality. So we've also seen construction costs on the rise. So again, the benefit of factory built is that the home costs are more predictable. So as you order that home, you're understanding and you know what that cost is going to be when that house arrives on site. The manufacturers are able to purchase in volume, which means that any of their savings that they have on their products and materials that go into the home, they are able to pass that savings along to their end consumer. So knowing that these homes are more affordable and very well built, I think it's something that local municipalities and community planners and even developers should consider, bringing this as an affordable housing solution to their local service area. And like I said, the savings of manufactured homes are often 20-25% less than site built. I do want to say that if we were doing modular homes, there may not be a huge cost savings in terms of dollars, but what you're going to find is that modular will allow us, instead of taking 6 to 9 months to construct a home on site, that modular home, once it is on site, can be done in 30 to 45 days once efficiencies are in place. So you're saving on that builder's risk, you're saving on the construction financing, you're saving the time to get that home completed rather than it taking as long as it would if it was site built. So how would a developer get started and kind of consider, kind of the different paths that you can take to do factory built housing? First of all, we're going to start with retailers and manufacturers. Retailers, they understand their areas. They understand what it takes to place homes in their market. They will provide a turnkey solution. They will oversee the ordering of the home, transportation, installation, the utilities, and then all the way through the completion of that home. If you're a developer and you're looking to do maybe 1 or 2 homes a year, that's probably the avenue that I would take. But then there's also those high capacity developers that we see that can probably license as a retailer in their state and can work directly with the factories. That also puts, if you work directly with factory, that's putting that developer as the general contractor that's in charge of making sure the home is ordered properly, the installation, the on-site work, the completion. It's putting all of that liability onto the developer. So I don't recommend that for smaller scale projects to do, probably necessarily taking all of that on yourself. Something else to consider is maybe your home placement. Where is this home going? Will it be on an infill lot? Are we doing a subdivision development? Again, we can utilize this type of housing in a variety of ways. One thing we have not talked about are land lease communities. I know this, we all have heard of manufactured housing communities. That's what land lease communities are. That's where the land is owned by a property owner, and the residents have their home and they're leasing the lot that their home is sitting on. Sometimes they rent the home, sometimes they own the home. There's also the cooperative model where the residents collaboratively own the property and they own the home individually, that the home, and so they're still renting that pad, but their home is sitting on it's resident owned community, so they own the land. Some product considerations when you're choosing the type of home. Can you do HUD? Can you do modular? We're going to talk about zoning here in a few minutes, because that is very important when trying to consider if it's why you would develop with factory built. But HUD versus mod. What is that municipality? What will they allow? And then also when we get into the sizing of homes, single section or multi-section. Single section is where the home is in one box, it ships as a whole. And then a multi-section, obviously that home comes in multiple pieces. So that's something to think about, is your square footage. What does that look like? When we get into cross mod, I've talked about cross mods already. I will say that cross mod is an industry term. So it spans across all manufacturers building cross mods. Again, it's a manufactured home. And it's still something to consider when you're figuring out what your project and the end goal is. So I've already touched on appreciation, but I'm going to just throw out a couple little facts here. FHFA released in October the house price index, and from Q2 of 2023 to Q2 of 2024, the homes appreciated in value by 7.9%. And then alone in Q2 of 2024 alone, the homes also went up another 3.2%. So again, there's a lot of research out there that shows that manufactured housing is appreciating at the same value that site built is appreciating. All right, now the fun part, zoning. Zoning can be a barrier to manufactured housing. This is one of the things that our organization works on, is policy and trying to open up markets around zoning. So the HUD code does preempt local building codes. However, it does not when it comes to land use and zoning. So we see that in a lot of markets that manufactured housing may be zoned out. There's a lot of education that needs to be done in areas. Also, we've seen the National Manufactured Housing Safety and Construction Act of 1974 has established design and development of safety standards for manufactured housing. Modular and panelized housing must meet local building codes. And then if you don't take anything away from this presentation, please take away that mobile homes are no longer being constructed. A lot of municipalities will have mobile or trailers written into their zoning, but manufactured housing does not typically fall into mobile homes anymore. Mobile homes are no longer being constructed. So according to Freddie Mac, the more stringent zoning regulations, the less that we're going to have manufactured housing as a part of that jurisdiction. Same goes for the state regulations around residential land use. There's not going to have that many factory built homes shipped to that state. We have seen that the Midwest has more MH friendly jurisdictions, whereas the Northeast has the lowest. And then also, according to Freddie Mac, there's a lot of different criteria that goes along with MH friendly, whether it's lot size, the median index value, placements, that some areas may not outright ban manufactured housing. They will allow some. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunities to do some demonstrating like Kaya's doing. She's doing 10 cross mods in Hillsboro, Wisconsin, which will allow her to demonstrate that this can be done for other municipalities. We also strongly encourage, different housing types as real property through zoning, through the designation of manufactured homes. So manufactured homes, kind of how can you support as a developer, support state and local zoning? Just educating around manufactured housing, how it can bring more housing into tight markets. We're all aware of housing crisis, like I've said before. Putting these homes in where there's vacant lots is always helpful. Again, MH can bring those increased revenues to a municipality, lower home prices, and also be a proactive leader to a local planning commission. Trying to educate the local council, planning commission, whoever at the local level is always key. And then hoping we can update those zoning policies to remove those references to trailer parks or mobile homes. Again, those are no longer being built. And it's just a stigma that cities and local municipalities have, is that manufactured housing is a trailer, and that's not the case. So any educating that we can do, we need to show photos, we need to do everything that we can to prove that this is a good, affordable housing solution that developers should consider and even local municipalities should consider. So as a developer, as you are taking a look at factory built housing, it's all about partnerships, especially if you're in a market that may or may not be open to using manufactured, especially manufactured. There's not as many zoning issues with modular, but basically if working with your community is one huge key partnership that should be worked on, and that's to avoid the NIMBYism. Have conversations with having community meetings, talk to the neighbors. We did a project in St. Petersburg, Florida, a few years ago. It was modular, but however, it was 2 vacant lots that were there. I don't think we had a lot of pushback, but we did have some pushback from some of the neighbors. But when they went to work that morning, there was just a foundation sitting on a lot. When they got home, there was a brand new home completed, completely put together when they got home. And they were all just thrilled. It just really changed their minds, because I think in their head they had what a home was going to look like sitting there, but the home that was actually there was completely different. So definitely working with the neighborhood, showing them what can be done, showing them what will be done, to really change their minds is definitely key. Working with manufacturers and retailers, they know the markets that they're serving. So it's always helpful to work, with developing those good working relationships. They can help kind of guide what is selling in an area. Everybody has an end goal, and that's for a project to be successful. So working closely with your manufacturer or your retailer to understand what is expected of that home. And another thing is manufacturers, they don't always build the same thing. I live within an hour's drive of 5 different factories, and they do not all build the same product. So understanding which manufacturers can build what product is very key, because the manufacturer closest to you may not be the manufacturer that you're going to use. It just depends on what type of product that manufacturer is using. Lenders in this space around manufactured housing specifically is key. Not everybody is familiar with this. Our organization, Next Step, on our website, we do have a list of lenders that can do manufactured housing finance, not only on construction, but also for the end buyer. And then working with other successful developers that have done factory built housing in the past is also a key to building those relationships, understanding some of the best practices, what was some, sticking points, maybe what they learned. Kaya, she's done this before. She knows what she's talking about. And we have other organizations and developers that we've worked with across the country that can share their success stories and, kind of be a guide for you as you look at considering to do factory built housing. And a few others that are also some key partnerships, if you can have those, is working with the state association, Rock USA, if you're looking to do parks. Rock USA is resident owned communities. Definitely checking out MHI's website, HUD. If you're not already a part of the I'm Home Network through Lincoln Institute, I highly recommend the I'm Home Network. This is all focused on manufactured housing. They have an annual conference, and they're a huge support of research and data around factory built housing. And then not only, we've got Fannie and Freddie, and then a couple other industry websites that you can check out for partnerships and support around factory built. I do want to throw this out there as you're looking at considering manufactured homes. We do have a webinar on our YouTube channel, and I can get you that link, Kaya, for you to send out. But this was a roundtable discussion. It had advocates, professionals, and policymakers around manufactured housing zoning. So if you can check that out, and like I said, I can send that link out, but I just wanted to put a little plug in there. So also around factory built, there are a lot of research and white papers and data and statistics. Here's just a few that are key resources for you as a developer as you're considering working on factory built housing. The Census Bureau, MHI, and then Next Step, my organization, and Clayton have done white papers. Fannie and Freddie both have research around this, and then HUD and the Urban Institute. And I think that wraps up my presentation. I hope that you were able to get something out of it. I hope you were able to possibly have a few minds changed, and maybe you'll consider factory built in the future. So, Kaya, I'll hand it over to you.
All right. So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Amy, for that presentation. So this is the best part of the webinar, is an opportunity for folks to ask questions of Amy. We also have some folks from some of the different factories out there that are on this call that can answer some more specific questions about the housing. So we've got some really great folks here. We also have Amy Bliss, who's from the Wisconsin Housing Alliance, which is the state of Wisconsin's manufactured housing state organization. So we've got some really great people to ask some questions. And we had a question, can you send the lenders? I did send a link to Next Steps website that includes their list of lending partners. Just FYI, USDA definitely lends for manufactured housing and modular housing. Our state organization here in the state of Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, that also underwrites loans, does underwrite loans for manufactured housing specifically. So, and then with the cross mod, as Amy said, any Freddie or Fannie approved lender can underwrite for cross mod homes, which that's a huge chunk of lenders out there.
Yeah.
All right, looking at the questions.
I have a question.
Mhm.
This is Stacy Thompson. I'm the director of Habitat in Martin and Faribault counties, southern Minnesota, right on the Iowa border. And I just came from an HRA meeting in one of the communities in my affiliate service area where they're even talking a tiny home village, and we may go in with them on 1 or 2 units to rent to families who are, in that flux position of either waiting for their home to be done, or for families who are below the AMI that we require. But what came up about specifically the manufactured homes, not even the cross mods or anything, is that they have about 4 or 5 lots that are infill lots that are smaller that they would give to us for free if we put manufactured homes on them. So I would just encourage everybody to be talking to your cities. I mean, they own these weird shaped lots that pretty much nobody can do anything with but habitat. And I told them, I said I'd take them today if we had the money, so I'm definitely going to be looking up those lenders too. So,
Good.
and Kaya is definitely the leader of Habitat for Humanity in this movement. So kudos to her.
Thank you, Stacy.
Plus, I love her so much. Can't help.
Same. Back at you, Stacy. Amy Bliss shared some additional lenders from the Wisconsin Housing Alliance. And then we have a question from Angela. Can any of the plant supply modular homes that have above a 512 roof pitch?
Yes, most of them can do higher than a 512. It's just, I would just definitely check to see is in that market area, who's the closest, and make sure that they can. Again, not all factories are created equal, so the closest one to you may not be able to provide what you're looking for. But yeah, 712 they can do.
And then this is the email that I CC'd you in on, Amy, from Kenosha. So we are getting some additional information for you, Angela. What other questions do folks have?
Can I ask a question?
Certainly,
Um,
Christy.
Thank you. We've been tossing around this idea of a twin modular. Do we know other resources for that? Is that something that's being done more and more? Or can you talk about twin modular possibilities?
Explain what twin modular is.
So just a modular that's two houses, connected by a shared
Oh, like
a
a
party wall.
duplex. Duplex.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So actually, modular, we've seen that done. And HUD just passed where they can do up to a quadplex as one single unit. So the firewalls will be done on site, I believe. Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah, HUD just passed that, so that's coming in the code change for HUD. But yeah, they can do like up to 4, I think, in a HUD. But yeah, mod, they can do that.
And that's also going to just depend on the factory.
Yeah, it will depend on the factory because not all of them will be able to do it, I'm sure. And at this time, I don't know that we know who can build the quadplexes right now. So
That's hot off the presses. We
yeah.
do have Daniel has his hand raised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the presentation, Amy. My question has to do with development using buildable lots that are smaller than traditional. And to be clear, I'm in Virginia, and so our counties and cities are very different in how each zoning ordinances work. But we're looking at an idea of potentially allowing for building on something that's a tenth of an acre and to allow for manufactured housing specific neighborhoods to be built
Mm-hmm.
where these micro lots are the base rather than half acre, quarter acre lots for buildable opportunities in R1. Have you seen anything like this as a project proposal with manufactured housing anywhere else in the United States versus the by right building of manufactured homes for backfill in these neighborhoods where they just traditionally don't allow for manufactured homes to be used?
Would that be set up like a condo type or
Oh,
plan?
we're in the building phases of this project, so probably won't even be seen until 2026 at the earliest, but we're not trying to go with community owned
Yeah.
or HOA based building, but to allow a developer such as Fleetwood or Clayton to come in, buy a large plat, and then get new deeded lots that are just very, very small, enough space for a small yard and a manufactured home to be placed on it on a permanent foundation to not have such a large amount of land need to be purchased by the first time home buyer, because
Okay.
that's where a lot of your costs go up. Because even though you're saving on the front end with the house, big lots tend to come with more expense,
Fence, yeah.
and it's harder to get loans, especially if you're young and trying to buy your first home, or even if you're older and trying to buy a smaller home and downsize. And
Yeah.
manufactured housing would offer that opportunity that stick built just doesn't offer anymore.
Yeah, so we're actually, my organization, we're working on a project in Hagerstown, Maryland. It's not super narrow lots like that though.
Okay.
But yeah, that is kind of it's more for first time home buyers, or even we've had a few buyers that are, I think, downsizing into something smaller. The lots are not that big. I don't remember what the lot sizes are, but yeah, I think it just sounds like you're doing, it almost sounds like it's a community, kind of a community model, but for home ownership is what it sounds like.
In
So,
a sense, it is. We're also tinkering with the idea of allowing for conversions of manufactured home parks to be like HOA style community
Yeah.
owned properties. But that comes with its own host of issues because
Yep.
those lots are not built to be turned into deeded land
Yep.
just because of the way development takes place. But I've got your contact information.
Yeah,
I'd
feel
love
free
to
to
reach
reach
out
out.
to talk about this because we've heard about the Hagerstown, Maryland development as a model that is being done now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Please reach out. Yep. Any other questions?
We also had Amy from the Wisconsin Housing Alliance shared a factory in Wisconsin that does duplexes, Christy, so I can connect. I think we're talking this afternoon. We can connect and talk about that. And then Angie from the Wisconsin Housing Alliance also shared a link to some different homes that have duplex possibilities. So definitely something that we can pursue here in the state of Wisconsin as our partnership with other habitats. So we can talk later, Christy.
Yeah, mid-countries, they do a nice home.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Kaya, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I was just going to say that if anyone is seriously interested in developing with manufactured housing, there is a show coming up in January in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the Midwest Manufactured Housing Show, and they have so many homes on display for people to see. And it's really a fantastic event if anyone is interested. It's January 14th or 15th through the 17th.
Yep. And if you go, I'll be there. So feel free to say hi.
And on top of that, if anybody on the call wants to be there, y'all could drop me a line, Barry Knopfinger at credithuman.com, and I'll make sure that you're registered and get in free.
Awesome. And then I can just say from experience working with municipalities on the different types of housing, so whether it's, modular, manufactured, or cross mod, a lot of it is just doing that upfront education. And if you are working with a dealer or with a factory, people are very visual people, so being able to provide renderings that show what the homes look like, whether it's the exterior or interior before you actually have a home placed, can do wonders. So, colored pictures of what these houses would look like. And, you can see behind, Amy, those are houses that all of our neighborhoods look like. And so being able to share, just the design and what these look like. And then honestly, once that first home is out there, inviting people to come and tour it is a game changer because, when we did this, we would do a home dedication and our community members who were some of the biggest naysayers on this project had a hard time realizing that this was a factory built home. To them, it looked like every other site built, stick built home that Habitat for Humanity had been doing for years and years and years. And so for some of them, it was really hard for them to wrap around that this is actually a home that was built in a factory and delivered to the site. So a lot of times it's just providing that information, partnering with the people in your area, so we just had a really great group of people that provided information to people that had questions. So use those resources, get that information. And then kind of if you build it, they will come, find the communities that are a little bit more open, find those projects that are a little bit easier, and then use that to kind of expand your base as you're going out, has been just done wonders for how much buy-in that we are getting with our programs. And then, for the people that love the numbers, it's really hard to pencil in a project that works out like factory built housing purchase does. It is just a game changer when it comes to affordable housing development.
Mhm.
And join the groups, get their newsletters, learn more about it, and share the information.
And I will say, if anybody has any questions after this, when you hang up, feel free to reach out. I'm going to do a little bit of a plug. We do a lot of consulting around helping nonprofit and for-profit developers get into this space. So I am here to assist in any way possible if something should come up or if you have a project or just have questions.
Amy is an absolutely excellent resource.
So, all right.
All righty, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on our second presentation on factory built housing. Amy and I and Next Step are working on 2 more presentations to come out in 2025. So keep your eye out. We'll be sending some more information. And for those of you who participated today, I'll be sharing the PowerPoint slideshow and also the link to the recording of this presentation. So if you think this is helpful for other folks in your area to see, by all means, share it with them, because we're here to build a network of folks that are utilizing factory built housing as an amazing solution to the affordable housing crisis. So any questions you have, again, feel free to reach out to Amy or to myself, but thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you all.